The bottom line to what's happening in Afghanistan, it's an utter quagmire. It's an unwinnable situation for the U.S. As you had mentioned, it's the lowest public opinion polling to date with regard to only 30% of the U.S. public supporting it. But the main reason you have President Obama still, standing by the Afghan war and keeping U.S. troops there in an utter quagmire is he doesn't want to be the President of the United States on record to lose Afghanistan. It's kind of like an analogy to Lyndon Johnson during Vietnam. He did not want to be the president that lost the Vietnam War, and President Obama doesn't want to be billed with losing the Afghan war either. So he is keeping troops there against public opinion, and American troops are paying the price for it, not only in the billions of dollars wasted and spent in Afghanistan, but the lives lost. And the polling has actually in America, with American public opinion, of course, has dropped because of recent events in Afghanistan, going back to the Quran burning, and also Robert Bales, of the U.S. Army, who had killed the 17 civilians in Afghanistan, and the riots that have erupted as a result of both of those. And, the bottom line, and not only the riots, but also the additional American military personnel who have been killed as a result of it by Afghan security forces. I mean, it's an utter quagmire. We just had USS Liberty survivor Phil Turney, a good friend of mine, interviewed his son, Bryce Turney, on his Your Voice Counts radio show last weekend. You can see that over at ushijacked.com. And he talks about how it was very difficult. He was, Bryce Turney, Phil's son, was an Army Ranger in Afghanistan, and he said he was there, I think, over a year. And they're long deployments, and it's like being on the moon, he said. And basically, you couldn't tell friend or foe with the Afghan civilians. You had children there that would come up to the soldiers, asking for candy and other things, and yet then they were very adverse to the American occupation, even at a young age. So, like I said, it's got parallels to Vietnam. It's an unwinnable war. America has to get a negotiated settlement to get out. We don't need to lose any more American lives there. We need to put them on the Mexican border and secure the U.S. border instead, the southern border, of course. And like I said, the polling has dropped, but President Obama is still going to stay there. The only person who's really sane in all of this is Ron Paul, who I support. And he, presidential candidate Ron Paul, who's still in the Republican presidential race. He's not going to bow out, and I don't see any reason for him to. I was just at UCLA recently, and he had an overcapacity crowd of young people there who supported him. And he was saying what President Obama should be saying. We should get out of Afghanistan. We should get out of Iraq. We've still got, civilian occupation there. And the troops have only been moved to Kuwait to get ready for war with Iran. And that's why I think another reason the neocons and the rest of the pro-Israel lobby, AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and similar, are pressuring President Obama to keep the troops in Afghanistan so they can be there for the coming war with Iran. We've got a second aircraft carrier that's heading to the Persian Gulf. It's very concerning. Tensions are being ramped up with Iran via the sanctions, which have also been pushed for by the pro-Israel lobby, both in the U.S. and in the U.K., and also at the EU with the Transatlantic Institute there. So it's a very concerning situation, and I just read on the news this morning that Russia is going to put troops on the northern border of Iran through Georgia into Armenia to gear up for any Western attack on Iran. So we seem to have the makings of World War III here, and as Ron Paul said, it's time to come home before that happens. But with President Obama, I don't see that happening. And just, a final note there, you've got AIPAC neocon advocates, mouthpieces, I should say, Senator Joe Lieberman, and Senator John McCain in Turkey, pushing for an escalation in military action against Syria. Now, that's the rest of the neocon clean break war for Israel agenda that the Iraq invasion was based on. So I just see more war here with these neocon Israel first warmongers like John McCain and Joe Lieberman, and President Obama is obviously being pressured by them, and it doesn't look good for America.